of no excuse mail-in balloting. We have to fight all these fights at once. It wasn't just that. It was a lot of variables that played into this. A lot. You know, we can, I hate that stupid expression, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. It's the dumbest expression ever. But it's true. There are a lot of fights out there. I don't want to minimize any one of them. All right, folks, thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to check out my podcast today. Cover a couple stories we didn't get to on the radio show. Rumble.com/Bongino. See you all tomorrow.
Ben Brown is the unwavering fighter Missouri families need in the state Senate. A local restaurant owner, Ben Brown fought against unconstitutional COVID mandates and won. Ben Brown received the NRA's highest rating for his commitment to protecting the Second Amendment. Ben Brown is the only candidate endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police because he proudly stands with our law enforcement officers. And Ben Brown is endorsed by Missouri Right to Life. He will always defend the unborn. November 8th, vote Ben Brown, the true conservative choice for state Senate.
Hi, I'm Ben Brown, conservative fighter for state Senate. Career politicians have done everything they could to tear our nation apart. Now our shelves are empty, businesses can't find workers, gas prices are ridiculous, and we're less safe than ever. It's time to set things right. I've faced down violent opponents in the cage and defeated liberal tyrants in the courts. Now I'm ready to fight for our families and our freedoms in the state Senate. I'm Ben Brown, and I'm asking for your vote. Paid for by Ben Brown from Missouri, Tim Miller, Treasurer.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. That's 800-561-3405.
KMDY-HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Job openings rose unexpectedly in September.
A surprise from the Labor Department as job openings rose in September. That goes against hope by Fed Chair Jerome Powell that inflationary pressure can be relieved by employers cutting job openings. 10.7 million job vacancies were posted in September. That's up from 10.2 million in August. Economists had expected the number of job openings to drop below 10 million. With so many jobs available, workers can afford to resign and look for jobs that pay more money. Those higher wages have contributed to inflation that has hit 40-year highs this year. I'm Shelley Adler.
Chief Justice John Roberts has put a temporary hold on the handover of former President Trump's tax returns to the Democratic-controlled House Ways and Means Committee. The order gives the Supreme Court time to weigh the legal issues in Mr. Trump's emergency appeal to the High Court. Also at townhall.com, Israelis have begun voting for the fifth time in less than 4 years in a general election that is once again expected to be extremely tight.
Already this morning with the polls open a few hours now, we've had the Prime Minister Yair Lapid, who has cast his own vote and been photographed doing so. He's described this as a choice, he says, between the future and the past. And I think the last part of that referring to Benjamin Netanyahu, who of course was Prime Minister for 12 years until last year when he was ousted by an ideologically diverse coalition which has been unable to survive. And Mr. Netanyahu himself on social media this morning urging his own supporters to get out and vote because this is very likely to be yet another deadlocked election.
BBC correspondent Tom Bateman reporting from Jerusalem. More at townhall.com.
Harley Dombeck here from Key City Capital. As a practicing CPA for nearly 30 years, I have found that 80% of your ability to grow your wealth is dependent upon two factors: taxes and investment performance. At Key City Capital, we improve investment performance by diversifying capital into off-market investment opportunities in passive rental real estate and alternatives like asset-backed lending. We recover dollars that clients unnecessarily pay in the form of income taxes, creating a lifetime annuity of savings. We are a sponsor of passive, affordable single and multifamily residential rental investments, which are located in Sunbelt landlord-friendly states. These investments are the top choices in a rising interest rate and inflationary environment. They represent a store of value, protecting your capital from market volatility. Learn how we at Key City Capital can help you ultimately grow your wealth rapidly. Connect with me at keycitycapital.com or give me a call at 817-912-1569.
From the Newstalk STL newsroom, I'm Joey Vasovich. A 17-year-old Lindbergh High School student died after a Lexus sedan crashed into a pole around 1 a.m. Saturday morning in Sappington. There were 5 other passengers inside the vehicle at the time of the crash. A second passenger had life-threatening injuries, and a third passenger had minor injuries. A police officer was being treated for smoke inhalation Sunday morning after a fire at Robinson Motel in Pagedale. About 20 people were evacuated from the motel around 8 a.m. Motel residents are temporarily being sheltered at Pagedale City Hall. A year-long Tower Grove Park project to restore a creek buried in 1913 will be completed tomorrow. The water will begin flowing after a grand opening event at 10 a.m. and includes a 1,400-foot-long path with natural play areas. The train shed at Union Station will become a Christmas-themed pop-up bar called the Sleigh Shed starting Friday. Highlights will include floor-to-ceiling holiday decor, themed menus, and photo ops. Thai restaurant The King and I, an anchor of South Grand Boulevard's commercial hub for nearly 3 decades, will relocate next year to the Crossings at Richmond Heights. The restaurant will move into the storefront previously occupied by Blaze Pizza. And in sports, the XFL announced the names of the 8 teams that will be playing in the league yesterday, and the St. Louis team will once again be known as the Battlehawks. For in-depth coverage of these stories and more, go to newstalkstl.com.
From the Newstalk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. The afternoon forecast very different from the morning where we had a foggy start. Temperatures for the first day of November will sit in lower 70s with sunny skies and light wind. Tonight, our temperatures dropping down into the 50s, and then we'll be enjoying a nice stretch of 70s for the upcoming few days. However, watch the weekend forecast for widespread rain. That's been your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation.
Enable our Alexa skill. Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always streaming at newstalkstl.com or on your radio at 1019, 94.1, and 99.1 HD3. News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. Welcome home. This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by The Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today, 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville, 314-794-6464. Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
No, you guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle.
Come on, people. This is America.
We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh, good for you.
Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Time to rise has been engaged. We're better best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. Your finest hour.
everyone. Welcome to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. It is Tuesday afternoon. 1 week from today is election night across the country. It is going to be hot and heavy for the next several days, and nobody will have better election coverage for you than us here at News Talk STL. We will be here all night for you on Tuesday night. We'll be here as late as it takes to get you all of the results that night. Of course, we will keep you up to speed on everything happening as we go through this crazy week and get everybody ready for the elections. And, of course, afterwards as well. Not only on the radio, but also on our website, newstalkstl.com, all of our social media platforms. Literally none of my notes printed. I just grabbed a bunch of empty papers off the printer, apparently, but that's okay. We are all set and ready to go on a Tuesday afternoon here on Colombo and Katie. And joining us is our good friend Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com, who has been stepping in and helping us out a whole lot on Tuesdays as Katie has been on maternity leave. Of course, producer Stell is here with me as well. And Crane, thanks as always for your time, my friend. How are you?
We'll see if he's there.
Yeah. Are we on phone or are we on Opal?
We're on the Opal.
Oh, we can try to get him on the... You want to try to give a call on the phone maybe?
Sure.
See if we can get him that way. Printer's not working. Phone's not working. Back's not working. That's all right. We got you covered, though. A whole lot to talk about today. I would encourage you to go back and we're going to talk about this with Crane, obviously, here in a few minutes. But the FBI report out of the Paul Pelosi mansion break-in late last week has been released. And Vic Porcelli this morning did a great job going through that FBI report. And if you missed that, you should go back and check out Vic's podcast or one of the live streams on Rumble or Facebook or YouTube and check that out. We're going to get into some of the details here, but I don't want to repeat everything that he did earlier today. But there's just some things in there that just don't add up. You know, it's just one of these situations that everybody is using, everybody is playing off of in the news and trying to, take advantage of this story and mold it into the agenda or to push the narrative that they want to push. But the facts, the details that we have are just not enough. The reports just don't add up. There's a lot of missing pieces. I think we have Crane on the line with us now. Crane, I'm talking about the FBI report out of the Paul Pelosi situation from Friday. Vic Porcelli earlier today on our station here did a great job of going through the entire report, and I've read through it as well. It just doesn't add up, and with so many people trying to take advantage of this situation and mold it to the narrative that they want to push a week before the election. I just feel like we need more details, and where everybody's trying to take a stand on this situation, but the facts just don't add up.
Aim.
Right? Yeah. Your thoughts?
And that's what you're calling out. I think it's outstanding that you're calling this out, Tony. It's the shoot, ready, aim idea.
Yeah.
As long as politics are involved. They launched the false narratives of how language somehow brought this about, or the environment. Well, the environment that called me Emmett Till because responsible for Emmett Till or a believer in Bull Connor because I don't believe that, showing an ID to vote is a racist thing to do. Is that part of it? Is it the demonization of cops with lies? Hands up, don't loot. No, don't shoot. Okay? But there was looting, right? So tell me what words are causing all of this in this environment. I'll take aim at any one of them and say, hey, look, that's First Amendment, unless we're going in and saying you direct to violence. I don't think it's ever good. Some metaphors are not good to use. Now, this story in particular has to do with mental illness and apparently immigration. That's what this has to do with. It's terrible. And our prayers and our thoughts go out to Paul Pelosi, and I hope things work out. And I know this is developing. Yeah. And I know, as you said, Vic Porcelli went through it, and that's great, the FBI report, because information is coming out. I I've read reports that there was some idea that the San Francisco police were already on site. Here's my question. Not about that, because that will be worked out in time and we'll get the story. My question is, does every criminal that behaves like this nut bar, does every criminal get the same treatment?
Yeah.
In the way of prosecuting and resources and focus.
Crane, just
You know,
one piece. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Just one piece of this FBI report. And, you know, anybody that's read a police report or an FBI report, or, you know, you these are what you go to get, you know, the specifics of what happened. And reading directly from this report, it says that when the police arrived at 2:31 in the morning, the word greeted. They said they walked in and both men had their hands on the hammer, and DePappy's hand was also, his other hand was on Paul Pelosi's forearm. Officer Colby Williams enters the house, and it says that he was greeted by Pelosi, and the officers then inquired, "What's going on here?" before the hammer was taken out of Paul Pelosi's hand, and then he was struck with it by DePappy. That just, none of that makes sense, Crane. It's 2:30 in the morning. Two guys are wrestling over a hammer. They were greeted. The police officers were greeted. How did they get in? Who let them in? Did they just walk in? There's been reports that there was another person there. How did there, you know, but that's not been substantiated. And then police walk into a home at 2:30 in the morning with two people wrestling over a hammer, and first thing they say is, "What's going on here?" This just doesn't make sense, Crane.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. And incidentally, I know the FBI is involved because the second person in line to the presidency is the Speaker of the House. I get all that. My point is, on the prosecution level of being equal under the law and crime victims being treated the same way, it seems that's a concern of mine to highlight. Now, going back to what you said, no, it doesn't make sense. That's not enough information for me to make a judgment other than to say, what? And that's what you're saying, Tony.
Pelosi greeted the officers. That's the exact verbiage in the FBI report. Pelosi greeted the officers. You're wrestling with somebody over a hammer at 2:30 in the morning that's just broken into your house, and you greet the officers, and the officers just say, "What's going on here?" Like, it's just, you can't. Well, they've got the White House is not allowed to compare this to January 6th and try to.
Heavens.
Oh, they have.
That's asinine.
Oh no, Karine Jean-Pierre has compared this action at the Pelosi home to actions taken on January 6th. So if you're going to, as a White House and as a party, you know, and as a media, try to go down this road with this story, I just need more. I need more facts.
Yeah.
I need more details, because it just doesn't add up. I fully believe that Paul Pelosi got hit in the head with a hammer. And I think that that's a very tragic thing and a terrible thing. But
yes,
we can't allow just narratives to be established before we have any details, because the details just don't make any sense.
Well, no, and just like the nut bar that shot up the game with the congressional
baseball team
game,
Steve
and
Scalise.
he was a Bernie guy, right? I mean,
well, just this year, Lee Zeldin was attacked in New York.
Yes,
you know, running for governor.
With a knife.
Yes, by a man with a knife. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and both can be true. It could be a jackass statement, and she could have made it. Okay. And she did make it. Unfortunately, it sounds like what you're reporting to me, misinformation. What's her name?
Karine Jean-Pierre?
Jean-Pierre.
Yeah.
Yes, pardon me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Earlier this week, compared it to January 6th.
So making those pronouncements, I think people get it. I really do. I don't think the smear will work, because we're all experiencing the rise in crime and insecurity. And we understand that when somebody who is mentally ill, possibly schizophrenic, I think I remember reading that, or possibly, the fact is we don't know enough other than to say mental illness, wow, we hope Paul Pelosi's okay, and this is a FBI report that leaves more questions than answers. How about the footage from the body cams of the police?
Yes.
Can we get that?
How long will that take? Because that will definitely tell us a whole lot. And that is, listen, I'm a big believer in body cams. I'm a big believer, I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement, and I believe body cams are a resource that are just as beneficial to the police, if not even more beneficial to the police than they are to the community at large. And we've seen over the last couple of years all of these calls, as you mentioned, calls to defund the police, calls for to clean up police action, and all these things from the left that have demonized and attacked law enforcement. And one of those things that has been called for by people on the left, one of the few things that I agree with is things like body cameras and all of that push
democracy in the balance.
Can we see the push to get that released in this situation and other situations like when it maybe does not align with your agenda? Let's see if the push for something like body camera footage is as strong as it is in other areas, because I couldn't agree with you more. That's exactly I think what will be a shine a lot of light on what happened. I want to get into.
Tony,
go ahead, Karen. Go ahead.
Yeah, pardon me.
No,
I just wanted to say that it's so important because a lot of times we get into our boxes of politics and issues and policy, and what you're pointing out is, wait a second, beep, 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 back it up. This doesn't make sense to me.
No.
And in reading it. So I think that's, once again, one of the reasons your show is doing so well is because we need that perspective.
So we've got news out of Pennsylvania that I want to get into as we go through the show here, and some other things that are specifically impactful to the elections that are now just exactly 1 week away. Before we dive into those specific issues, Crane, just in general, how are you feeling 1 week before the election? How are you feeling about the momentum on either side, the temperature across the country and here in the Midwest? How, you got any gut feelings about how Tuesday is shaping up?
That poll that put Zeldin ahead of Hochul.
Is that incredible? That's incredible.
I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. And it's one of those things where, I feel it. Will they get the message? They're already starting to blame misinformation. I think it just cracks me up because Jen Psaki was misinformation. Where it's coming from, and shutting down speech. It concerns me greatly that they will take this as another way to layer on the false narrative, false case of shutting down speech. And, you talk about violent acts, and I know you were in the heart of reporting the BLM stuff when it came when that came about, Tony.
Yeah.
And so we abhor violence. I think it's the worst thing you could do when you're talking about these issues, and I think that's why we have the rule of law. But it's important that we get to be free. And yes, even nut bars like Alex Jones, who I'm not a fan of at all, but people I disagree with, even MSNBC, Joyless Reed, I'm going to say, yay, go ahead, say whatever you're going to say, and we can go back and forth. I invite you to back that up, specifically Joy Reid. And I believe Americans, we're smart enough to know the difference, and we all have a vested interest in getting the truth. Unfortunately, one of the reasons the story that opened the show today is because we don't trust the press to pursue it.
Yeah. No, they're exactly right. And as we look at these things, you mentioned that poll in New York. If a Republican can win that governor race in the state of New York with ultra blue New York City, the biggest city in the country that usually, obviously just runs that state like Chicago runs Illinois, that would be what a signal, what a true red flag to the Democratic Party of what a terrible path that they have put this country on. That if they lose New York, like I said, I've got a story about John Fetterman, a couple stories about John Fetterman out of an interview on CNN this morning. That was another very bad. I don't think there's any campaign that I could think of in recent history that could be in a worse place a week before an election than John Fetterman's race. Ever since that debate, it has been an absolute disaster, and it continued today. So if Dr. Oz is able to win that race, there was a poll out of Georgia yesterday that showed Herschel Walker ahead of Raphael Warnock. I mean, oh my goodness. If all of these tight races that were all led by Democrats, or, basically throughout this entire process, these have all been close the whole time. They've been something we've been talking about, but polls have always showed Kathy Hochul ahead. They've always showed John Fetterman ahead. They've mostly showed Raphael Warnock ahead. If all of those suddenly change at the end, what a message to the Democrats across the country for what a terrible path that they have put this country on and how much they have alienated voters everywhere. So let's take a quick break and let's get into some of those stories as we continue our conversation with our buddy Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com. He is here with us for the entire 2 o'clock hour today as he continues to help out while Katie is on maternity leave, and we certainly appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Getter at News Talk STL. So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Come join the conversation.
Enable our Alexa skill. Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Always streaming at newstalkstl.com or on your radio at 101.9, 94.1, and 99.1 HD3. News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion. Welcome home.
So I have another family member currently talking with the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway because they have realized that they do not want this opportunity to pass them by. They saw the success that Christine and I had earlier this year selling our home, working with Rodney and Jen Wallner, who really are just the best at what they do, selling 15 times more homes per year than your typical home seller. They have so many qualified buyers right now that they guarantee to get you an offer, and things are different than they were when my wife and I sold our house a few months ago, but they are still very much on your side if you are trying to sell your home. It's still a good time to do that, but that window looks to be closing. I'm no expert. I can't say that for sure, but I know that, the market and the economy and things have been crazy and things have been changing. And, there's a lot of uncertainty ahead. But right now, it is still a great time to sell your home. So if that's something you've been thinking about doing, don't wait any longer. Don't wait for that opportunity to blow up and not be there for you anymore. Take advantage of it before it's too late and work with St. Louis's best home selling team. Not only do Rodney and Jen Wallner have the stats to back up being the best, but they're just the best when it comes to working with people. They're a married couple. They bring that family perspective to the conversation when you're selling your house, and if you're also buying a house on the other side, because they were so instrumental for us in that area as well. And their experience and work ethic is second to none. So don't wait. If you're thinking about selling your home, call the Wallners now at 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD for the Wallner Home Selling Team.
Michael's Flooring Outlet is a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years, featuring exclusive products, unbeatable prices, and expert installation. You can choose from a wide variety of flooring options, including carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, plus many other options. And you'll gain a peace of mind knowing that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in-store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home online. Check out everything Michael's Flooring has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Hey, it's Tim Jones, and I want to tell you about View 17. You hear me talk about it all the time as one of the area's unique premier event spaces. We have had many events there ourselves. View 17 is located on the 17th floor of the old U Club Tower in Brentwood with a second-to-none view of the city. It's an ultra-modern media, conference, and event space, perfect for corporate events, birthday parties, anniversaries, or even weddings. View 17 will make your event one that people will talk about later. Check it out at VUE17.com. The minute you walk in, you know the space is like no other. VUE17.com.
The team that brought conservative talk radio to St. Louis is back. This is News Talk STL. News, analysis, and opinion from the voices you know and trust. Mike Ferguson, Tim Jones, Dan Bongino, Tony Colombo, Vic Porcelli, Katie Fitzpatrick, Chris Arps, Ken Williams, Paul Cook, Joe Pags, Randy Tobler, Rodney Boyd, Gabe Pfeiffer. Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
It's Tuesday, and at 3:40 we'll have 98th District candidate Ryan Higgins and Senate 26 candidate Ben Brown at 5:25.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 3:30 on News Talk STL. The latest news.
The pandemic is over.
Raised interest rates again.
Migrants flown to Martha's Vineyard. President Putin has made nuclear threats against Europe.
Biden's inflation.
Tougher times ahead.
The news you need to know.
Secure border.
This border is a disaster.
Big government socialism wrecking this great country.
They will lose, and they know that.
The commitment to America.
And the place to talk about it.
Right here.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
I came, I saw, I conquered. Never got no pride.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. I'm Tony Colombo here with producer Stell in studio. Katie, of course, on maternity leave, and since she has been out every Tuesday and Thursday, we've been joined by our old friend Crane Durham from nothingbutTruth.com, helping us out tremendously. Going to be with us for the entire 2 o'clock hour today. Crane, we mentioned Nothing But Truth, and of course people remember you for all of the different stations and shows and things that you've done here in the St. Louis market, but you are still active, on the website, nothingbutTruth.com. Tell us a little bit about that before we dive back into the issues here.
Thank you, Tony. I am also on Twitter at Nothing But Truth, at Nothing But Truth on Twitter, and Twitter's lighting up again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
And what I'm focusing in on with my poll question for everybody, first and foremost, the link to listen for you all, Colombo and Katie, and the opportunity and blessing I have to be on with you all. But the idea of what are the most important issues three most important issues this election. And I'm thinking if we go 2 issues, we're talking crime and the economy, and that can bifurcate to 2 in the sense of inflation and economy generally. So we're in that, and I think, wow, what has the left done? What has the Democratic Party done? What has the Democratic Party done? And it's where we are today, and people are waking up. And do you smell what the Democrats are cooking? Because it's us, right? I mean, it truly is.
It's themselves. They're cooking themselves right now across the country.
Now imagine a place where they have to live under their policies, and then they talk about lies, and they talk about an environment that is hostile and reckless. Well, calling Border Patrol agents acting like they're whipping people.
I know.
And going with that lie, and then having that come out, oh, no, it's not true. We knew it wasn't true from
before it was reported. We did that story a couple weeks ago. That they knew The Biden administration knew that that was a false narrative before they went public with it and still made that decision, knowing that from the mouth of the photographer that is not what was happening. Those reins were only being used on the horses. They were not whipping human beings. And yet the Biden administration chose to move forward with that narrative, even though they knew it was false. Incredible.
Talk about misinformation.
Speaking of,
that divides us.
Speaking of, I was going to do this story a little bit later, but since we're on the border, I don't know if you saw the situation there, the videos that just came out today about this about these protesters. Illegal immigrants wave Venezuelan flag after crossing the U.S. southern border and attack Border Patrol agents. A large group of illegal migrants yesterday crossed into the U.S. waving a large Venezuelan flag, according to Customs and Border Patrol, and attacked Border Patrol agents before being pushed back into the river as agents used crowd control measures. The incident, which is at least partially on video, I've seen the video, you can go and watch it, saw a group of Venezuelan migrants crossing illegally into El Paso, Texas, as they waved an enormous Venezuelan flag. Agents can be seen pushing migrants back into the river while firing pepper balls near them as crowd control. In a statement, CBP, that is Border Patrol, said a group of Venezuelans had attempted to illegally enter the U.S. while protesting along the Rio Grande's international boundary. The agency said one of the protesters had assaulted an agent with a flagpole, while others threw rocks, injuring at least one agent in the process. That, in turn, led Border Patrol to initiate crowd control measures. Quote, these measures included the use of the authorized less lethal force pepper ball launching system, the statement said. The crowd then dispersed and returned to Mexico. The agency said that its Office of Professional Responsibility will review the incident. The chaotic incident comes as the migrant crisis, which has just gotten worse and worse since President Biden has been in office, continues to see streams of large groups of migrants cross into the U.S. illegally. Listen to this. This morning, a group of 300, mostly single adults, crossed illegally into Normandy, Texas. In just the Del Rio sector alone, Border Patrol agents say that have reported more than 50 large groups of 100 migrants or more since the beginning of October have come illegally into the country. Many Republicans, of course, laying the blame for this, all at the feet of the Biden administration, saying that its policies of rolling back Trump-era border security and law enforcement have only served to draw more migrants to the southern border, with many of them being released into the U.S. What do you say about the mess at the border? Again, one of these hot-button issues just a week before the election.
Well, we see how people react when they actually have to live with what the people on the border have had to live with and experience.
Yeah.
And that's why it was such a so-called troll when Governor DeSantis did what he did in the exporting of those illegal aliens. Now, I would say go to the Mexican government, hold them to account, go back on and replay the question Ted Cruz asked to Jorge Ramos and asked him. But I'm practicing. Everybody does that, and so I want to get into it. I want to do it. I want to pronounce it with passion.
You want to roll your R's?
Okay. Yes. But I end up spitting mine. So,
oh boy.
Who knows? It's terrible. But here's the deal. He asked Jorge Ramos, what happens when people enter your country illegally from the South, Jorge? And
yes.
Jorge goes, we send them back, right? We need to really put some people in charge, not just the Border Patrol. But I would go down to the border and say, hey, I appreciate not the Venezuelans attacking, for that is an act of violence, and I think it should be met with the best security measures that ensure the lives of the Border Patrol agents.
Crane,
first.
Neither you or I, amen to that, and neither you or I could be blamed as being the two biggest Trump fans that are heard on this radio station. I have concerns with Trump. He's not necessarily he's light years better than Joe Biden, but he's
irresponsible.
He's not my favorite. He wouldn't be my favorite Republican nominee. But all that aside, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to try to make the case that Donald Trump didn't have a much better grip on the southern border.
Absolutely. Again, I mean, Trump's policies did so much great for America. It was wonderful. So many of the policies, so many of the appointments, fantastic. It's just that other stuff that's reckless and irresponsible and narcissistic. But going to that point of saying, hey, as the President of the United States, we welcome people legally here. And I wouldn't want to live in Venezuela, which is a oil tyranny, in essence, the despotic leader. So
where on earth is it possibly okay to illegally cross a border and attack police officers?
Yeah,
that's the situation at our southern border. It happened yesterday.
One of the reasons. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, no, they're exactly right. It's just out of control down there, and unfortunately, there's so much in this country that's out of control that it's very difficult to focus on any one thing because it's just such a mess all over the place. But it's important to remember the border on Election Day. It's also important to remember classrooms, law enforcement, and so many other things. And speaking of Election Day, I want to get into this John Fetterman story. John Fetterman struggles through another interview and again refuses to answer whether his doctor will take questions. The Pennsylvania Democrat Senate candidate would not commit to having his doctor brief the press on his medical records ahead of the upcoming midterm election in a recent interview that saw him frequently stumble over his words. It happened this morning with Don Lemon, who is now on in the morning at CNN. And
isn't it pronounced Lemon?
I believe you may be. I think that was part of the change when they changed the show. When they changed day parts, he officially changed the name to Don Lemon. Announced that his co-host Don Lemon announced that his interview with Fetterman would be conducted with the use of the closed captioning technology, a visual aid that the lieutenant governor continues to utilize as he recovers from a stroke. Quote, listen, we've heard a little from your doctor, but we haven't heard a lot. You're asking voters to trust you on your word that your health is good without the full story. So in the interest of full transparency for the voters, do you think it would help if you let your doctors brief the press before election night? Don Lemon asked. When Don Lemon's asking a tough question like that, you know that you have lost the pony. You have lost the team when Don Lemon is asking real questions. Fetterman replied that
Don Lemon.
Yeah, Fetterman replied that he feels his campaign has been, quote, pretty transparent, and that his doctors have made clear that he is able to, and fit to serve in the U.S. Senate. He said, quote, from my point, we've been also, very transparent in terms of showing up at the debate. And very transparent about, having events in front of thousands and thousands of Pennsylvanians for months. And it was no secret that I missed some words. I was going to mush some words together. And as we've been very clear in the debate and during this interview, I've been using captioning as well. True. Lemon said the reason he keeps asking Fetterman for doctors to release information about his medical records is because voters may be asking if there is a reason he has not disclosed to them thus far.
Justified.
To it, yeah. I mean, Don Lemon not only asking the hard questions but doubling down. Fetterman said no. I have to
ask this.
Yeah. Fetterman said no. I just believe that we have our doctors weigh in on that, and they believe that I'm fit to serve. So there's that situation, which again, as I mentioned, I don't think a campaign could possibly go any worse than John Fetterman's a week before the election. But Don Lemon also in a crazy act. Maybe just getting up earlier in the morning is like changed his life. He also pressed him on fracking, which has been a big problem for John Fetterman because he's flip-flopped on that issue so many times. And Lemon got an answer, at least today's answer, from him in that interview earlier this morning, where Fetterman said that he does support fracking. He said he didn't before because he didn't have all the information and the data wasn't all out yet, but it is now, and now he is in support of fracking. He gave both answers in the debate, if you remember, because just because of a communication issue, but he literally said both things. Right. His statement at the debate was something like, I am against fracking, and I will always stand to support fracking. I mean, his answer was really that confusing because of the communications issue. So this at least got some clearance on that. But yeah, Crane, I mean,
He had the audacity to say that information wasn't available. It's been out there for at least a couple of years.
Oh, almost a decade.
Yes.
Yeah. It's been out since like 2016 or something.
Oh, my goodness.
No, you're exactly
Excellent
right.
point. The other part to that is does that impact all his policies, like crime?
Yeah.
And letting prisoners go? I'm just curious how much the information threshold gets to him.
Yeah.
And let's be very clear about this. Anybody who talks about Fetterman and is discussing policy as we're doing and his ability to actually function in the job and getting the medical information, anybody who calls that ableist in the way of going after people is another way the left tries to shut down speech. Another way they try to shut down accountability. And my point is they can go to an ism, an ist, always to deflect. And you did the dodgeball thing, Tony, where deflect, dive, whatever it may be.
Dip,
But
dodge.
that's the goal. And now we have Don Lemon for once actually asking a question and a follow-up and saying, in essence, pretty much I got to ask this.
Yeah.
Because, but a couple of weeks ago, maybe I was on board with calling the reporter who did this ableist. I don't know. I don't watch the man. Not many people do.
No.
But here's the deal. As we see this, two-tier. One is Fetterman we're seeing that he cannot function. His campaign's not willing to be honest about that because they would have to say he wouldn't be able to do the job. And the other part is, wow, the media, and I'm going to use the word, the leftist media, the mainstream media, the legacy media, wow, they suck.
Yeah, they sure do. They sure do. But this is just one of those things. If Dr. Oz, who was, he was not the strongest candidate going into this, was definitely the underdog going against the lieutenant governor, who's, from the state, has been in that state and has the familiarity and, name recognition is a big deal when it comes to elections. But this is, we talked about it earlier. If Dr. Oz wins that race and Herschel Walker wins his race in Georgia and somehow Lee Zeldin wins the governor race in New York, I mean, this would be, we're used to, typically after 2 years of, first 2 years of a presidency and you have the House and the Senate on your side, that history will tell you that will flip. Barack Obama, if you remember, got flipped historically bad, lost an historic amount of House seats after 2 years of his presidency. Joe Biden could be gunning for that record in a big way if this all falls the Republicans' way on Tuesday.
And this is the thing. You want to make a lot of Republicans live under Democratic policies. That's going to produce a lot of Republicans.
Yeah.
Because when...
Boy, that's well said. You're exactly right about that. Yeah, that's such a great point. I think that's what we're seeing, and I think that's exactly what you're seeing across the country. There's a new buzzword, pandemic amnesty. And there's a big argument about pandemic amnesty that I want to get into in just a moment. We have one more segment to go with Crane Durham, and we will be here on Colombo and Katie with you until 3:30. So let's talk pandemic amnesty. Let's talk about TikTok on the hot seat again. First, it was President Trump. Now, here's the one thing that Trump and Biden can agree on. They don't like TikTok. So we'll get into those stories and more in just a moment. You're listening to Colombo and Katie with the great Crane Durham on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL.
I came, I saw, I conquered, never got no prize.
News, analysis, opinion.
None of us chose this war. He could pick a symbolic target. In the end, it comes down to will he ever use it?
This is News Talk STL.
He's obviously acknowledging that he ordered those strikes.
Proven once again that it is a terrorist state.
North Korea threatens things that are very extreme.
As far as Joe Biden, everything he touches turns into a disaster.
News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
Can't say enough good things about our family dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care. We have been taking the family, the kids to Dr. Boscia for years for so many reasons. The number one reason is that Dr. Boscia takes the time to have a relationship with his patients. It's not corporate dentistry. You're not a number when you go to New Creation Dental Care. So that's number one. Just the true level of care that you receive from Dr. Boscia and the entire staff out there at New Creation is just exceptional. It's a great place to take your family. They're great with the young kids, particularly the ones that are having those, that first appointment. They take that fear and anxiety and make it a positive situation. So you don't build that fear going forward. My kids are nervous kids, and James does not like any type of doctor's office of any kind. And he gets a smile on his face when it's time to go to the dentist because they've made it such a positive experience. So I think that says a lot right there. But also the fact that it's basically a one-stop solution for all your dental needs. In many cases, Dr. Boscia is the only dental specialist you are going to need for almost anything. They've eliminated, with all the services that they offer there, they've eliminated the need for referrals or seeing specialists in so many areas. For us, it's been everything from Grace with her braces, sleep apnea treatment with myself, and again, just everything that comes along with kids and family dentistry. They have excelled for the Colombo family, and I think that they would do the same for you. So if you are looking for a new dentist for you and your family, learn more about New Creation Dental Care and Dr. Matt Boscia at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Parents want more choices rather than fewer when it comes to their children's education. And now some Missouri parents will have one more option to get their children the best education available. Low-income students and those with disabilities in Missouri's largest communities can now apply for an Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA. With an ESA, the money the state would normally pay to your child's public school goes into an account that you control. You can use the funds for private school tuition, online learning programs, a private tutor, or other approved uses. You can tailor your child's education. For too long, Missouri officials have operated on the mistaken notion that parents only need one choice. They're assigned public school based on their address. ESAs put parents in charge. It's school choice at its best, with money following the students to the place that best fits their needs. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. This Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Hi, I'm Dr. Alan Link. Your smile is your number one asset.
I was in a car accident. My front tooth cracked. I'm definitely embarrassed to smile. I got mini dental implants. It changed my life.
If you are missing one or more teeth or suffer from loose dentures, mini dental implants might be the solution for you. I have placed mini implants with amazing results. Mini dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Let me give you your self-confidence back and give you the ability to eat the foods that you love to eat, but that you simply can't at this point. Plus, best of all, the cost to you is much less than with older, more traditional dental implants.
It made me feel like me. Like I can smile and feel like Ashley. I just want to say thank you.
We are here to help you at the Dental Link.
Call Dr. Alan Link today at 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville. That's the Dental Link at 314-794-6464.
News, analysis, opinion.
None of us chose this war. He could pick a symbolic target. In the end, it comes down to will he ever use it?
This is News Talk STL.
He's obviously acknowledging that he ordered those strikes.
Proven once again that it is a terrorist state.
North Korea threatens things that are very extreme.
As far as Joe Biden, everything he touches turns into a disaster.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
One more segment to go here with our buddy Crane Durham from NothingButTruth.com and Colombo and Katie with producer Stell and myself, Tony Colombo. Katie is out. We'll be, of course, here with you until 3:30 till we hand things over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Crane, one of the interesting new buzzwords that's suddenly out there in the news cycle is pandemic amnesty. I don't know if you've heard of this yet, but it was highlighted in an interview today.
Hello.
Oh, can you hear me? Crane, you got us? Hello? Hello to Crane.
We can hear you. We can hear you, Crane.
Maybe try reconnecting there with Crane.
Okay. I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll get him reconnected here. I will set the stage while you get Crane back on the phone, and we will tell you about pandemic amnesty. A buzzword was highlighted in an interview today with Virginia Lieutenant Governor Winsome Sears. She is pushing back after American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten agreed with the idea of pandemic amnesty. Quote, she was one of the major proponents of closing our schools, and unfortunately, most of these Democrat governors listened to her and did exactly that, Sears said, after the teachers' union head tried to deflect blame for school closures and other COVID restrictions in schools. Now they're saying, back to the quote, just forget about it. No, the problems are existing where our children did not learn. Weingarten, a strong proponent of school shutdowns during the pandemic, has tried to deflect the blame for failing test scores, claiming it did not matter whether students were learning in school or remotely, which we have seen study after study absolutely prove that false. Remote learning was damaging to kids. I saw it with my own kids, with my own eyes, and every stat has backed it up. Many critics of school closures have since called out Weingarten and Brown University economist, Emily Oster, who called for the quote pandemic amnesty in an article from The Atlantic on Monday. So this is the new thing that many on the left who pushed forward with closing schools and closing business and damaging educations and putting people out of work and putting businesses out of business, Crane. They're all saying, you know what, we're claiming pandemic amnesty. We didn't know, so you can't hold us accountable for our actions.
Very interesting. I think Americans, generally speaking, what we can do is, and not speaking for all Americans, I'm just saying I have confidence in the American people to make judgments on information that they had access to and information they did not. And if somebody is honestly going forth with a policy that they, based on the information, is the very best policy to protect, wonderful. If they're following the science, wonderful. But if they're not, if they're using it for a reason not to allow teachers to go back to work, yes, well then they should be held accountable, because we should hold people accountable when they have emergency powers and use them to manipulate and to forward their agenda. They should be held to account, and by held to account, when it comes to elections, you vote them out.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of Tuesday's elections and the hot button issues surrounding it, this is kind of a 2-for-1, because not only we'll see what happens when the dust settles, how much control the Democrats have, how much they want to go after any types of closures or mask mandates or anything else, because they've been sort of quiet on that as we've, gotten into the flu season and, this time of year where these things are coming back around. And they had sort of set the stage. They'd sort of prepped us for some things that they may be thinking. But I guess until they know where the power structure is going to lie, they can't really move forward. So that's going to be one super interesting thing, the pandemic. But also, this particular story also includes schools. And we've talked about the war on parents that Democrats have launched over the last couple of years. I think another perfect example, as we are just a week away from the election, two more big issues that the Democrats find themselves on the wrong side of as people are heading to the ballot box.
Yeah, and not even bringing in the fact that, sex is binary. It's
identity politics.
Woman.
Just identity politics in general.
And I think people have had enough, especially when you're going after one of the sectors of society most vulnerable, the children. In that way, they always use that and say, we're protecting children. You don't care about children. And we're sitting there going, wait a second. I'm looking at the recent history, and I'm saying there is direct evidence to say that you advanced your own ideological ends in order to forward those and kept kids out of school and kept teachers from coming back. And that's just a huge one. And then you go to the FBI letter when we talk about the Justice Department, Merrick Garland, and the original dust-up, and that's unseemly, and it's scary. It's not good. It's very bad. It's very bad because we're seeing that the government can press down on a particular part of society by invoking the greatest fear for each and every one of us in the way of, oh, they're a terrorist, or, oh, we're going to get people sick, and you don't care. You're not compassionate. Listen, America is very compassionate. We're the most compassionate. And again, trust Americans. In the first couple weeks of the pandemic, everybody was on board because we didn't have the two stories or multiple stories being given, because there was credibility. When that credibility was lost, then people started splintering and having problems. And then you saw one side come, oh, you better follow the line, get on Facebook, get on Twitter, you got to follow this. And collusion.
2 weeks to flatten the curve, Crane. 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then we'll all be straightened out. Boy, things changed a whole lot. Yep, absolutely. And as we mentioned, just 1 week away from Election Day. Nobody will have better election coverage for you prior to, the days leading up to, and on election night, and of course after the election than us here at News Talk STL. And I hope our buddy Crane Durham can be a big part of that election coverage as well. Thank you, my friend.
I'd love to.
Yeah, thanks for your help this afternoon. We will talk to you again on Thursday. Thanks, buddy.
Love you guys. Thanks so much.
Back at you. That is Crane Durham, who you can hear every Tuesday and Thursday with us as he helps out as Katie has been on maternity leave. You can also always see what he's working on at nothingbutruth.com. All right, TikTok in the hot seat again as the FCC commissioner urges the U.S. government to ban the app. We'll get into that story and more in just a moment as we continue with Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
When's the last time you checked your 401k balance? Well, let me prepare you. It's not pretty. The 40-year record high inflation has cost many Americans almost 25% of their 401k savings. And with the volatile market hinting at a possible worse recession coming our way, I'm worried. Are you? Meanwhile, President Biden was recently questioned at an ice cream shop and asked if he was worried about our economy. He replied that our economy is strong as hell. If that's the case, then why is my 401k in the dump? So you have a choice to make. You can sit back and relax like the president and act like nothing is happening, or you can be proactive and call Steve All of the All Financial Group and stop losing your money. Call Steve today and ask for that Stop Losing the Money plan. 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or visit yourmoneymattersstl.com. Advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC. The All Financial Group and Retirement Wealth Advisors are not affiliated. Insurance and annuities offered through the All Financial Group.
As you're turning on that heater, your furnace, and running it consistently now that temperatures are transitioning over and getting cooler and cooler, especially at night, if you have any issues with heating your home or any issues at all with your HVAC system, don't forget that doing right by the customer is the number one priority at Agers Heating and Air Conditioning. That's why we trust them with our home. That's why it was the top priority to have the Agers team take a look at the existing system in our new home, which didn't look very good from the eyeball test, and it didn't pass the eyeball test, and we immediately had a new system put in our new home before we even moved in because of the great success and great trust that we have with the Agers team. So whether it be repairs or replacement, nobody has you covered better than Agers HVAC. They have the mobile showroom that shows up to your home if you're getting a new system, and they will keep you updated every step of the way. Learn more at callagers.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. Police in Newark, New Jersey, responding to a report of officers shot this afternoon in a residential neighborhood about a mile west of the city's airport. Details on the number of officers injured or the extent of their injuries not immediately available. This is a developing story. The man accused of attacking House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband is scheduled to be arraigned this afternoon on state charges in California.
Prosecutors will ask that 42-year-old David DePape be held without bail. He faces state charges that include attempted murder. Authorities say DePape broke into the Pelosi San Francisco home with a hammer last Friday, looking for the House Speaker who was in Washington at the time. They say he wanted to, quote, break her kneecaps to show other members of Congress there are consequences for their actions. 82-year-old Paul Pelosi was able to call 911, but was attacked with a hammer before police could intervene. The House Speaker says her husband has had skull surgery and that his recovery will be long. I'm Mike Hempen.
Also at townhall.com, the Libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate in Arizona has pulled out of that race and thrown his support behind Trump-backed Republican candidate Blake Masters.
Libertarian Mark Victor had been positioned as a likely spoiler, drawing enough votes away from Masters to spell defeat for the Republican candidate. His decision to drop out of the race just days before the election and endorse Masters could have very much the opposite effect. It's not known what percentage of Victor's supporters will heed his call to support Masters, but it offers new hope for the GOP candidate as his campaign tries to close the already narrow gap on incumbent Democrat Mark Kelly. Bob Agnew reporting.
A lower close on Wall Street, the Dow off 82 points, the Nasdaq down 97. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Hi, my name's Adam Barada. I'm the owner of Advantage Gold, the highest rated precious metals firm in the country. Now, we've won the Best of TrustLink award 4 years in a row because we educate our clients on how to buy gold and silver the right way. We don't pay celebrity spokespeople millions of dollars. We'd rather pass that value on to you. Call 800-900-8000 and speak with one of our experts. We'll send you a free gold kit along with my latest national best-selling book, The Great Devaluation. Call 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000.
Toyota says its profits fell 31% in the last quarter as a shortage of computer chips offset foreign exchange gains from a weaker yen.
Toyota's quarterly profit through September totaled 434 billion yen, down from nearly 627 billion yen a year earlier. The maker of the Camry sedan, Prius hybrid, and Lexus luxury models said it faces many challenges. They include rising interest rates, soaring materials costs, and fluctuating exchange rates.
Correspondent Jeremy House. A shortage in semiconductors, coronavirus lockdowns in Shanghai, and flooding in South Africa also bit into earnings. United Airlines pilots turning down pay raises. The raise nearly 15% over 18 months. It's part of resolve by airline unions to push for significant pay raises. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. 6 people from South Florida hope to overturn a controversial education law.
The group filed a lawsuit last week asking a judge to overturn Florida's parental rights and education law. The law restricts classroom discussion of gender and sexuality in K through 3rd grade. The plaintiffs claim the law subjects them to discrimination. They say the law treats LGBTQ people as those who need to be shunned. Proponents of the law say the law prevents the attempts of activists to sexualize young kids. The plaintiffs include 2 students in Miami-Dade County, 2 lesbian couples in Miami-Dade, and 2 Broward County teachers. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Iowa agricultural officials say another commercial egg farm has been affected with bird flu. It's the first commercial farm case identified since April when a turkey farm was infected. This latest case is in Wright County, housing about 1 million chickens. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. Tonight, a low down to 50 degrees. Going to be a cool start, but it will warm quickly yet again. Highs in the 70s, sunny skies and 76, not too windy. That'll change a little bit. A slight breeze on Thursday, mostly sunny to partly cloudy, but still a mild day with a high of 76. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
So last night in our neighborhood, probably like many neighborhoods around the area, had the fire pit going as the kids were trick-or-treating, and it is just a great time to be outside this time of year, standing in front of a fire, and hopefully you could be cooking something on that fire. And if you're doing that, you need to have Rockwood Charcoal with you. Of course, Rockwood Charcoal, not only a great local small business, which we love to support here at News Talk STL and on the Colombo and Katie show, but charcoal is Missouri is the number one charcoal maker in the country. So you're supporting local industry, you're supporting a local business, but they are also, Rockwood Charcoal, the number one rated consumer ranked charcoal in the country. Rockwood Lump Charcoal is the best product out there. So you're checking every box there is. Rockwood Lump Charcoal is just awesome. If you are used to the briquettes, you don't really understand how much of a waste that is until you use Rockwood Lump Charcoal and you see how much faster it burns, how much cleaner it burns, how much hotter it burns, how much more control you have over the entire grilling process, especially if you're going to be adding flavors to the foods as you're cooking them, as you're grilling them, using other products like the Rockwood smoking woods and things like that. It's just a superior experience across the board. And again, you're using the best product, and it's all made right here by a small local business. So it's just the perfect thing to support. Rockwood Lump Charcoal can be found at over 100 area stores. Find the closest one to you, as well as some grilling tips and tricks, all at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Talk radio made in St. Louis for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL.
Our responsibility.
News, analysis, and opinion.
To provide updated guidance.
At 1019, 941, and newstalkstl.com. You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. One more segment to go for us this afternoon before we hand things over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Man, just glancing at the television here, they're showing more. There's a new Real Clear Politics poll out that had the Senate race in Arizona going to the Republican. The Florida Senate race with Mark Rubio, which at one point a couple weeks ago was thought to be very much a toss-up. Rubio's up by 10 points. We've talked about what's happening in Pennsylvania. We've talked about what's happening in Georgia. We've talked about what's happening with the New York vote. It just, Stell, at this point, can it get any worse? Here, the Ohio Senate race, the Real Clear Politics average right now, J.D. Vance is ahead by 2 points in that race. That's
Ron Johnson in
This
Wisconsin.
could be a worst case scenario for the Democrats on Tuesday.
That would be awesome.
What do you attribute it to? I mean, is it truly, how do you turn your back so fully on the American voter across the country? Usually you were going to hold on to certain pockets, but the fact that we're talking about the governor race in the state of New York.
That whole Northeast corridor.
Is insane, Stell.
I agree with you. And to look at Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, those districts, some of those are probably going to go Republican. Portions of other portions of New York State on the Senate level, probably going to go Republican. The dissatisfaction that's out there seems to be overwhelming.
It's incredible how much they've alienated people across the country.
Yes, I agree.
In so many areas that we've talked about today and, in recent shows. I mean, in just about every issue you can look at when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to schools, when it comes to the border, when it comes to the economy, when it comes to gas prices, when it comes to, just everything. The Democrats, the Biden administration has found a way to put itself on the opposite side of the American voter.
I will say one thing that we need to learn a lesson from is what happened in Brazil on Sunday, because Bolsonaro definitely had in polls a slight lead over Lula. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the results that came in my opinion, there was some shenanigans going on, because the parts of the country, the northeastern parts, which went for Lula, those are not as populated as the other parts that were Bolsonaro oriented. And for every other portion of the country to have the folks in the Bolsonaro ticket win, but for him to lose suspiciously 51-49, which is exactly the way the folks who allegedly screw around with the voting machines,
how they do it.
That's how they won it, 51-49.
Yeah. So we've talked about this on this show, and you and I just were mentioning it off the air as well. One of the things here in the state of Missouri that can be that you need to really remember and keep your eye on the ball. This happens in a lot of areas. I've seen this over the years of being really involved with Second Amendment issues, with my outdoor show and my old show at the other place that was, Second Amendment show. In the state of Missouri, we can get complacent because we think we have you have this conservative supermajority in Jefferson City, so we've got all the right people in the right places, and so we don't really need to, they've got it. We put the right people in, and we can sit back and relax. You cannot sit back and relax on election night, no matter what you think is going on. And I think a lot of people, regarding the Missouri Senate race, that was the headline on primary night with all of these big name candidates, in Greitens and Billy Long and Vicky Hartzler and all the and going against Eric Schmidt, and then Eric Schmidt has this big decisive victory on primary night, and I think people look back and go, okay, well then this is in the bag now, and we don't have to worry about it. And there's not this big, it's not like Georgia and Pennsylvania and New York where there's a top line, a top of the ballot huge.
Correct.
Election that are bringing people out.
Yep.
And that's exactly how things can sneak the other way.
Yes.
Because, you motivate, the perceived majority gets lazy, and the minority, which is not that much of a minority, can motivate their people and get out there and, quote unquote, steal an election, and in the fair way of stealing an election, because they're taking advantage of your complacency. So it's very important that no matter what you think, if you think that everybody's in the right place, or you think that it's going to go your way, voting is always very important. Do not sit on your hands. Do not wait. Do not let this one pass you by. It's an important one in Missouri and across the country. So
it's critical. We've got to get the nation back, and this is our opportunity to begin to do that. And as you mentioned about Eric, he doesn't really have any coattails that he can grab onto. At all. So he's out there, and we need to support him.
Boy, and they got nothing. I don't know if you've seen Trudy Bush's. I get it on YouTube constantly. All it is this China farm thing.
Mm-hmm,
It's the only thing they got.
Yep.
It's the China farm is the only piece of any campaign advertising I've seen for Trudy Bush Valentine is about China buying farms in Missouri. I mean, it is. They don't even look like they're trying, because they don't even have any other. They're not trying any other issues. They're not talking about anything else. I guess they think China and farms are enough to somehow, pull off an upset, or maybe they feel as they're as far as behind as others maybe do. But again, don't get complacent. Don't allow that to lull you into a place of content. You still got to get out and vote on Tuesday. And like we've been saying, we'll have you covered all that night right here on News Talk STL. We'll be here as late as we need to be that evening to get all the results in for you. And, of course, leading up in this now just 7 days before the election and after the election, we'll have you covered. Nobody will have better Decision 22 covered for you than us here at News Talk STL.
Could be an all-nighter.
Could be. I've pulled some all-nighters before. Yes. I don't know about this one, though. You know what? It might be in some of these other states. It might be. And we'll be here as long as we need to be for those important ones.
Because once you get in the swing of it, you're going to be
you don't want to be on fire. Yeah, you don't want to leave.
No.
You're as interested. I mean, what am I going to do? Go home and watch the same thing? I'm not going to bed. I'm waiting. I want to see these results. And God, I hope that we get the results on election night. This idea of it becoming the norm to think that we might not have results on election night is not a good thing. And I know something that Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft is fighting against in the state of Missouri. Having election results in on election night is important, and hopefully we will see that on Tuesday night as well. All right, as I mentioned earlier, TikTok on the hot seat again as the FCC commissioner urges the United States government to ban the app. Stella, I don't suppose you're a big TikToker?
Not too much, no. No. Sorry, Tony, I'm not. But I totally understand the issue.
Producer Stell 314 at TikTok.com.
You know, the way that they harvest information,
Yes.
yeah, it's a pretty serious issue.
You know what always has baffled me about TikTok as well is that the way that they use copyrighted music and copyrighted film and television. There's no rules. Like, you can't play copyrighted music on YouTube without getting. I have a little YouTube channel that is just for like my family. So like when I go and see my daughter play at the Missouri State Orchestra, I can film her. You know, I can video it and I can put it on our YouTube channel so it's there for the family. You know, and like little things like that. It's not something I do anything publicly with. I mean, I've posted links here and there, but you know, it's not a radio. It's not connected to the radio station. It's not a public thing.
Like the little segment you played yesterday.
And I have been copyright claimed for like having a Disney movie on in the background. Like you could just hear the movie in the background.
Yeah.
And I got copyrighted claimed. So like they don't mess around on YouTube.
No.
On TikTok, you can play a full copyrighted radio song, sing along to it, change the word, do anything you want to it, and I don't understand, and you can make money off of TikTok. So I don't understand how you are able to make money off of TikTok using copyrighted material in the United States when you can't do it on other platforms.
Yeah.
TikTok's always been like this very strange outlier because of its Chinese connections and the rules that apparently that they don't follow.
You mentioned the YouTube incident. A guy that I follow a lot, Viva Fry, former Canadian who moved to Florida because of all the mandates up in Canada. He's been tossed off a couple of times, essentially because when he was in Ottawa with the truckers convoy, somebody would be playing music 2 or 3 blocks down from where he's doing a live stream.
All it takes.
And YouTube kicked him off.
That's all it takes.
My goodness. And other folks I've seen who have maybe a video of either they're driving on vacation and their radio happens to be on in the background of the car.
Trips that algorithm and you're gone.
Bam, that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Very weird.
The U.S. should ban the video sharing app TikTok to protect the private data of American citizens, says FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr. He put out that statement today. Carr, one of the 5 commissioners who led the FCC, argued in an interview with Axios that there is no way to have sufficient confidence that Americans' data on the app is not being sent back to Beijing and the Chinese Communist Party. TikTok is owned by Chinese tech giant ByteDance, and Chinese law mandates that companies share their data with the CCP upon request. TikTok is currently litigating with the U.S. Council of Foreign Investment to determine whether it is possible to divest the app from ByteDance and allow it to operate in the U.S., something former President Donald Trump pursued before leaving office.
Yes.
Carr says the data I know, like I said earlier, getting rid of TikTok is the only thing that Donald Trump and Joe Biden have ever agreed on, apparently. Carr says the data protections won't be secure enough regardless of what deal is reached. He said, quote, "I don't believe there is a path forward for anything other than a ban." This is in this interview with Axios earlier today, adding that there isn't a word in which you could come up with sufficient protection on the data that you could have sufficient confidence that it's not finding its way back into the hands of the CCP. TikTok, of course, has pushed back against this, and they say that it can be worked out, and so this is going to be a continuing thing. But it would be shocking to me. I mean, everybody needs to be very careful. Apps are stealing your information, whether they're sending it
24/7, yes.
American big tech or they're sending it to the Chinese Communist Party. You're getting stolen from all the time, and you need to be as protective as you can be. I will be shocked if a platform the size of TikTok which now, I mean, as I mentioned, platforms like TikTok and Twitch, which is a streaming application, and YouTube and Facebook, people make their livings. I mean, they operate their TikTok channel, and that's their job. People that make, medium, like just make middle wage doing it or are very rich doing it. I mean, you'd be upsetting a lot of industry by eliminating an platform the size of TikTok. I'll be shocked if that happens. I'm not saying I'm no fan of TikTok. I'm not trying to support it or like trying to preserve it in any way, but I'd be shocked if that was actually
I agree.
that happened.
And when you look at the growth over the last 5 or 6 years, had it been done when President Trump originally made that move to say,
Yeah.
hey, we need to get them out of the U.S., had it been done in 2016 or 17, might have been a tad easier. But now you're right. It's
There's
going to
so
be
much money
Yeah.
that people make off of it. There's so much advertising that's done on it. There's just so much industry attached to it. I would just be shocked if that actually happens. I'd like to stop the Chinese Communist Party from taking our data, but we're also I also look at it as we're handing it to them because you know exactly what's happening when you sign up for TikTok. I mean, that's, anyway.
It's in the terms and agreement that none of
which
us
everybody
ever read.
reads clearly all the way down to the very, very bottom. Local PSA here. Stell, this one will grab your attention. Missouri Snake Show Venom Fest had to be shut down this weekend after a cobra disappeared. It was a 2-day event over the weekend in Moscow Mills called Venom Fest. Saturday went off without a hitch, but Sunday's show was canceled after a deadly Egyptian cobra was unaccounted for. This is in Moscow Mills, Missouri, people.
Yikes.
The event organizer says strict safety precautions were in effect for the 200 to 300 snakes at the Midwest Venom Fest show. Snakes were not allowed out of their sealed containers for any reason. He says before the doors opened for day 2, a vendor found one of his containers had been moved and it was empty but still sealed. Quote, they're all in sealed containers. That's what's making it very difficult to believe that this was a mistake, said Mickey Meyer with Show Me Reptiles. The snake didn't put the lid back on, and the snake didn't move its container 2 feet. The St. Louis Herpetological Society, which focuses on educating the public about reptiles, has had education booths at these types of shows, but not Venom Fest events specifically. And earlier this year, the Festus City Council voted to no longer allow them. Both police and the people with the society believe the cobra is more likely stolen than escaped. However, they have put out a very detailed search plan to sweep the area around Moscow Mills because this is a very dangerous, venomous Egyptian cobra that is unaccounted for in the state of Missouri.
That's pretty scary.
That is scary.
Next time we drive to Hannibal, I'm not stopping in Moscow Mills for gas. Oh, my goodness.
They did say that there's no evidence of a snake being loose. There's no dust trail. There are a lot of times they said that they are no... the guy with the society says that when they get loose, apparently one of the first things that they do is poop. I'll take your word for it, guys. They didn't find any of that. So they said that they have not seen any evidence that it was a snake escaping. They are thinking that it was more likely a theft. However, it is still a very concerning thing for the people in the area of Moscow Mills because of this Egyptian cobra that's very poisonous. Got away from Venom Fest. So
we have some friends
keep
who
an
live
eye on
there.
your backyard, folks.
Maybe I should call them and check
Maybe you
with
should
them.
let them know about Venom Fest. Hopefully
Yeah.
they already know and they got their eyes open. But
Boy.
important PSA to wrap things up before we hand things over to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. If you missed anything today, great conversation all throughout the 2 o'clock hour with our friend Crane Durham from nothingbuttruth.com. Make sure you are subscribed to Colombo and Katie on your favorite podcast platform, whatever it may be, Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify. Also, subscribe to the Colombo and Katie YouTube channel, which we live stream on every day, as well as the News Talk STL Rumble and Facebook pages. We live stream there every day as well, so you never have to miss anything that happens here on the Colombo and Katie show or any other show at News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps coming in now. They'll get you through the rest of your Tuesday afternoon. Don't go anywhere, and thank you so much for listening to us and supporting us. Just 1 week away from election night now here at 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You've heard it all before, but you never really had a doubt. I don't believe that anybody feels the way I do.
This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Winding.
Welcome Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
As far as Joe Biden, everything he touches turns into a disaster.
Let me start off with 2 words.
News, analysis, and opinion.
The Saudis need to come to their senses.
Russia knows that nuclear war cannot be won.
The 2022 midterm elections.
Blowout year for Republicans.
We cannot afford to lose.
It's insane.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Fox News commentary.
Now that Elon owns Twitter and vows to make it a free speech platform for all, the left-wing celebrities are logging off, to which we all say, don't let the virtual door hit you on the way out. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Starting to realize your small business is a little overwhelmed by the holiday rush? It's still